Alright, so it's one day after the release of My Blood by 21 Pilots, and my theory was that it was about Tyler Joseph's wife, Jenna, but it seems like almost everybody disagrees with me. Some people have suggested that it's about his brother, or about God, or from God, or to Josh, or from Josh. We're gonna talk about all of those here. I've gone ahead and pulled a bunch of tweets from people who disagreed with me, and we're gonna look through those, discuss those theories, and then I want you guys to comment down below what your theory is after you've heard all of the different arguments, and we can kind of figure this out together. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Hey everybody, I'm Clifford Stummy, the pop song professor. Welcome to my channel where we make English class awesome by explaining and sometimes roasting song lyrics on school days. If you watch this channel, you're gonna learn what your favorite songs lyrics mean, how to write song lyrics, and a whole lot more. And today we are talking again about My Blood by 21 Pilots. And our first tweet today comes from My True Friends, who says, or even though Tyler is singing, it is from Josh to Tyler. Now, a lot of people have been saying things like this, and I just find that with a lot of what Tyler writes, I don't think I've ever heard him talk from somebody else's perspective before, and that's a big thing when it comes to explaining an artist, is knowing what's come before and what they are usually do and what they don't usually do. Now, that doesn't mean that Tyler couldn't try something new, but it's very unlikely, and his words are so much an expression of himself that it would be really weird for him to allow himself to be a mouthpiece for somebody else, even if that somebody else is Josh. Then we get into this one from Greg Pakleb. He says, I think it's a follow-up to the rap part of Ride, where he talks about dying for, living for, and killing for the people back home. I think it's for multiple friends and family. Now, I agree that it's in the same vein as the ideas of Ride, and in that sense, it is kind of a follow-up, because he is talking about how in Ride, like, it's difficult for him to live for somebody, but in My Blood, he really seems to be pretty confident that he is trying to live for somebody else, whoever that other person may be. So I agree with you on that part. Whether it's for multiple friends and family, I'm not so sure. Then we get into Will Arnold, who says, great video. Thanks, Will. What would you think of an interpretation where the verses and choruses are different speakers and the song is more religious? Tyler calling Jesus his blood, that which gives him life, with the verses being Jesus, could also be more secular about mental health, etc. As far as changing perspectives within the song, again, I just don't think that's something that we see Tyler do a lot, and so I would be really surprised if that was the case here. And then we hear from Afreen, who says, I guess it's along the veins of Truce, as in, it's about whoever needs it, maybe. And I think that, I think a lot of Tyler's music is for whoever needs it, but it's usually for people within a specific demographic. So like Guns for Hands is for whoever needs it, but it's people who are struggling with mental struggles that could make use of his music. And it's, kind of about the clique or about people who come to concerts. And so sometimes he'll have that a little bit general, but it's not generally something he puts out there just for anybody ever. Then we get into Tuva, who says, I agree with you. And Tuva may be the only person in the world who agreed with me. Says, I agree with you, it doesn't seem like a song directed towards Josh or his brother. It really feels off if the song is directed to the clique, because it really doesn't feel like Tyler to write a song about the clique in that kind of tone. For the same reasons as you, I think, Jenna. Thanks, Tuba. Then we get into Ryan Holmes. He says, at Clifford Stummy, I personally think that My Blood is possibly from God's point of view and talking to Tyler, like Tyler is sort of reminding himself that God is with him and to not run away from him. And I think I've talked about that a little bit with some of the previous tweets, where I'm just not sure that Tyler is experimental enough. I think his music isn't about being, he's musically experimental, and he does some things lyrically that are experimental, but to try to write a song from the perspective of God just doesn't seem to be him, And so I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but who knows? I could be wrong. Then we've got, I don't know how to say the name, we're gonna say Jime. All right, Jime. I think either Tyler is singing as Clancy trying to reach out and help other victims of edema, or, which I believe more, he is speaking the perspective of the bishops. I think he's singing as if the bishops were acting as a support system, but really trying to imprison them. Now, one perspective that he has sung from, now that I think about it, would be Blurryface, where he gets the really deep voice and he tries, it sounds really scary, and he's kind of talking about that inner part of him, but at the same time, Tyler is Blurryface. Blurryface is part of him. And so if the bishops are Blurryface, I could see that being a possibility. The song sounds like a good thing though. There's nothing in it that feels like a trap where we're like, oh, if I accept Tyler's help, whoever this, the target of his song is, then I will eventually get trapped and it'll be bad. It really seems like a positive song to me. Ash going to PAX West says, if the lyric is, do they know I was grown with you, which it is, wouldn't it apply to his brother better? They lived together, grew up together, and we heard in Stress Out him talking about his brother and them growing up together. And we see in the audio video on YouTube, there's a candle in there, which could refer to the candles in Stressed Out that he was trying to sell, but no one would ever bi except for his brother because they have the same nose, right? So it seems like that is a distinct possibility. And I had said earlier that what I heard in my blood sounded a little bit romantic to me, but it could have just been affectionate. And we'll look at those lyrics briefly just to make sure that there's nothing that's too contradictory to this theory. But I think this is the most likely theory from other people that I've heard so far. And then somebody else, actually a lot of other people, shared with me a picture from Instagram where Tyler posted a Instagram pic of the audio video for My Blood, where he has like the 2 slashes and the dash, and then, or the 2 like long stick things, I don't know what they're called, and the dash. And then his brother comments below the 2 slashes. Now, a lot of other people were doing that too, and so it could just be kind of like the thing. Maybe his brother was being a little bit ironic, but it also could be that he was completing those slashes for the 21 Pilots logo. And so what does that mean? It could mean the song is about him and that Tyler asked him to complete the slashes. It could mean that, like a lot of what I've been saying, Trench is about Tyler getting support and help from other people with his struggles rather than it being so internal and personal or just him and God related like in Blurry Face. And so that could be kind of supporting that, and it could be him showing us what the song is about symbolically. Or it could just be a coincidence, but it's a pretty interesting coincidence if it is just a coincidence. All right, real quick, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the lyrics from My Blood and see if there's anything here that seems particularly Zach focused. In the second verse, he says, "When choices end, you must defend. I'll grab my bat and go with you." And that could be a reference to childhood and, you know, grabbing your baseball bat and going out and playing with your brothers or with your friends. Then he says in verse 3, "If there comes a day people post it up at the end of your driveway." If it had been Jenna, it would have been both of their driveway. And so it seems like, yeah, it's maybe somebody else outside of Tyler's immediate nuclear family, and it could be his brother. And then finally in verse 3, "Do they know I was grown with you?" And so it could be, it really seems like that might be pointing more at one of Tyler's siblings. And so I have to say that overall, listening to a lot of the different theories and a lot of the different ideas, I begin to wonder if maybe My Blood is actually about Zach. There are a couple of lines in there that just seem more about him than they are about Tyler's wife. I really thought that a lot of the repetition gave it a very romantic feeling, but it could just be a very affectionate feeling. And it seems like Tyler cares a lot about his brother, so that would make sense. But all right, guys, that is my theory, and I'm gonna say that I'm probably leaning towards it being about Zach as the current theory, which means I'm really embarrassed about that video that I posted that tens of thousands of people are seeing. But I'll post a comment over there to tell people to come watch this video, and we'll continue to figure this out together. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.